Well, I'm back to work on the air conditioner, the 12-volt air conditioner install that I'm working on our 2003 Class A motorhome. And since the last time I shared stuff with you, I've had a bit of a setback, specifically with that whole mechanism and mounting idea that I had for that large condenser. And I want to explain to you what the deal was and why that is not going to work. So I'm moving on. I got a new plan, and I think it's going to work. So let's just jump right in. Hopefully we can make some progress on this project, and maybe we can both learn something in the process. So my plan for that large condenser was actually going quite well. I was gonna mount it in here. It was gonna mount to the side here and be able to drop down and swing out so that I could access all the stuff behind it and service all the other equipment. That whole mechanism worked very, very well. But when I came down and tried to kind of fit it in here, there were a few things that were a little off that caused me to change direction. I thought that mounting that condenser vertically here was going to be the best solution for me in terms of making best use of this space. The reason it didn't work out, there's a couple reasons. Let me close this door and you'll see. I don't know if you can see it, but the frame, or I guess the outer body of the motorhome, this whole body kind of tapers up slightly from this compartment here. It slowly kind of moves up towards the back about, that much, about 5 inches or so. I wasn't able to get the condenser up high enough, and in the end it would have stuck out here on the bottom of this compartment. With that condenser hanging down low there, it just would not be a good situation. Plus, you'd see it, and it wasn't going to work out. I imagine it would probably get damaged at some point, if it wasn't just for the cosmetic aspect of it. There's a bolt under here that is actually the adjuster bolt for this side of this rear slide, and it would block that bolt and I wouldn't be able to make adjustments easily. So the next option, which would be plan B at this point, is to mount that large condenser at a slight angle below all the other equipment. And I think that I could still do that and still keep it inside this compartment and still be able to close the door, and everything here would be accessible. But there's a couple things that I would have to do in order for that to work. I would have to be able to raise up the platform, kind of shrink the space required for all the other equipment, and just make a nice support frame for that all to work and still be able to contain that condenser below it at an angle. So let's head into the shop and we'll see how that comes together. So this is the original frame, the support frame from the original heat pump unit that I took out, and we're going to reuse this for the new system, but it's going to be shaped a little bit differently. Now I've already made some changes to it, and I'm going to make some more that I'll share with you, but first of all, I removed this beam that was over here. What I plan to do now is actually raise it up. So it's going to be sitting up about 8 inches higher than it used to be. And I'm going to basically support it with these with this threaded rods, 1/2-inch rod. And you'll see how that all comes together. But I'll be able to make some adjustments there. But I had to remove this because it was, with it raised up, it was hitting the duct, that was feeding the system. So I removed that and I added this support bar here, so I still have some support here in the middle. So this is from the original air conditioner. I've obviously cleaned it up a little bit, and I'm still going to use this to support the new system, but it doesn't need to be as wide. What I'm going to do to the front here of the support system here is actually cut it, and I want this front support beam to be about 3 inches higher. So it's going to be a little L-shaped thing here. The reason for that is that the large condenser unit, it's now going to be angled slightly underneath this whole thing. So by lifting this a little bit, it's going to create a little bit more space for me to angle it down and below. We'll use this bottom. We'll make this shorter, narrower, probably end about here, and everything will go into the ducting this direction. So let's get to cutting. Oops. This needs to be 1/2 inch up. I guess my little spacer rolled out. Redo that. I guess that's why we tack weld stuff. Yeah, I think it's going to work. Well, this looks like it's going to work out pretty well. It's going to get the equipment up a little bit higher, so I'll be able to raise this up about, yeah, say 10 inches from where it was before. And, you know, I've got these threaded rod bolt setups here that are going to allow me to adjust it up and down if I need a little bit more clearance. Yeah, with it sunk down a little bit in the middle, you know, I'll still be able to get that compressor unit in here, and it'll be nice and snug and almost on level with the what's going to be back here, which is you know, the other pieces, the evaporators. There's going to be 2 evaporators. The only issue is that the outtake here for the cold air is going to be going down now here, so I'm going to have to kind of fashion an enclosure that kind of takes that into account, angle the blower a little bit, but I think it's going to work out. And I got a little shock mount plan for this for these mounts that I think is going to work out really good too. So yeah, I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm going to finish welding this up. It's just tack welded now. Wanted to make sure it's going to fit first. And then I still want to trim these L pieces down so there's a slight angle. So that large condenser coil is going to sit below this at a slight angle. And I think it's going to work out. I'll be able to anchor one end to this side and the other end to the main bracket here, kind of hang it there and then secure it in place. But yeah, this is actually going to sit up a little bit higher, about say there. And yeah, I'm optimistic. Let's get this wrapped up and start piecing the rest of this together. So let me show you what I'm using to support this. This is going to be the front, so facing the outside. Now I have this 1/2 inch threaded rod, and I welded a nut onto the bottom. So that's going to actually go through the frame on the RV that already has a nut welded to the frame, so it's going to thread right in there. The frame's going to be here, and the nut's going to be on the bottom, so that'll be used to tension this whole thing up. And this is going to support this frame here that's going to sit on top of it. Now, something I took out of the old compressors that were mounted to the feet of the compressor were these nice little rubber shock mount feet. So I took them off of the old compressors and I cleaned them up, and I'm going to reuse them. What I've got going on here is a washer. So I'm going to place a washer here on top of this guy, and then take one of those shock mounted feet. I'll slide it down here so it sits on top of the washer like this. And then I think you can see where this is going. And this slides in through this hole and provides a little cushioning here. I get another washer. Here it comes. Sits on top. Okay, so there we have it. Now I can move this one up and down to adjust the height of this whole bracket. And it's going to have one of these on all 4 corners of this mounting surface. Don't have to put it real tight, just a little snug. And then, you know, I get a little bit of cushioning there as I hit some big bumps in the road and stuff. It's going to help keep the jarring of this whole setup down. Now, as a guide on the top, this is going to be mounted to the outer wall, the mounting surface where the whole frame is mounted to, and I have a little guide here on the top. Keeps the whole system in place, and one of these is going to be on each corner as well. So yeah, so that's my my shock mount. I think it's going to work pretty good. So going back and forth to the RV to get this set up and tested and crawl around in there was really getting to be a lot of effort. So I set up this whole frame and mounting setup here in the shop so I can just continually work here and tweak things without having to go back and forth to the RV. But I was able to get the condenser here all mounted and it's really secure. So let me show you how that's working. So once I had the condenser laid out here and I figured out where it was going to be in reference to this whole frame, I had to add a couple more support brackets. So I welded on a couple more. There's a kind of an L-shaped thing here and another piece of angle iron here so that I could attach these mounting arms to the condenser. Now this one's a little bit longer and this one's a little bit shorter, and the reason for that is that the condenser has to be mounted at an angle. The refrigerant lines are going to go in here. The low pressure is on the top here and the high pressure is on the bottom. So this one has to be higher than this one by about at least 3 inches or so for it to work properly. So I got that all set up and it's at an angle, and to mount it I actually found instead of some standard angle iron, I had this extra piece or a few pieces of this steel from an old, I think it's an old Gorilla workbench that I took apart several years ago, but I kept the metal pieces and they came in handy here. Because they're narrower, I was able to fit them on the side of the whole condenser piece there, and it's just a very narrow strip that I could screw in, these mounting screws. Some stainless screws with a nylock locking nut on the bottom, and just screwed in several points here. They have existing holes through the condenser frame here. So I lined them up and cut this to fit and drilled a couple holes, and it worked out pretty well. It's very strong. Now another thing I did here on the side where the refrigerant lines are is to create a little metal guard around where the fittings are going to be for this low side, or the high pressure side and the low pressure side. And the reason for that is because this is going to be hanging down below, and there's potential for rocks and stuff to be flung up here, and I just thought it'd be a good idea to add a little bit of something here to protect that fitting that's going to be attached right to this point here. So yeah, we tend to be on a lot of dirt roads all the time, so I thought that'd be a good addition. So there's one here on the bottom and there's another one on the top. And on the front and back, well, I guess it's the top maybe or bottom of this whole gravel guard enclosure that goes around the condenser unit. It has these mounting holes all along, and I decided not to worry about putting bolts or anything through there because the mounting on the side, it's all attached here. It keeps this whole thing together. So instead I just used some strong zip ties all the way down here and got it all cinched down, and it also gave me a good opportunity to try out my new zip tie, a little cutter gun thing, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I liked the way that works. So now I'm in the process of kind of using the old enclosure. I've cleaned it up quite a bit, just kind of taking pieces from it and chopping it up into smaller pieces to make an enclosure for this whole thing. I don't have a lot of fancy metal bending stuff, so I'm having to make do with blocks of wood and a mallet. Surprisingly, it's actually coming together pretty good. So I really feel like at this point, I've kind of gotten over a hurdle figuring out the whole condenser mounting setup and how that's all going to tie into the rest of the system. And I can really feel it just starting to come together at this point without any major hurdles. By the time we revisit this project again, I expect to have a fully functional system, have everything installed in the RV after I get it powered and everything's connected and mounted and the works. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed to this, if you want to track this project and see how it ends up. And also, keep those comments and suggestions and ideas flowing in the comments section. I really appreciate the interaction there. It's been helpful for me, and I hope this whole thing has been interesting for you. So take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.